Hey guys, how you doing? I was getting my snowblower ready for the snowstorm we had last weekend, and in the process I noticed that one of the welds on the auger let go. It looked like a fairly straightforward weld. The only complication is where it's located, but I thought it might be fun to bring you guys along and show you the process. Today I'm going to be working on an Ariens. It's a Deluxe 28 SH0 snowblower, and it's a good machine. I don't think it's any worse than what else is out there. I think it's probably better than what else is out there, but I just want to say that the way they build snowblowers in the mid 2016, I think I bought this, compared to the one I bought in the mid 90s is very different. So while this machine is very simple to service, it's very straightforward, it just doesn't seem to be built as quality, as thick a metal as back in the day. So if you take a look right here on the auger, you'll notice that this weld gave way, and it looks like the weld fused perfectly fine to this piece of metal, but it never really bit into this piece. So what I want to do is, first I want to see if I can get this auger in position so it's easy to get to. Then I want to see if I can grind the paint off or wire brush the paint off. And then I don't even know if I want to bother removing the weld, the old weld, just clean it off, but just run one good bead that'll basically fuse this piece over here to the old weld. The old weld bit perfectly fine into this piece, but it never fused with this piece. I'm going to go ahead and squeeze the handle that starts the auger impeller spinning, and then I'm going to pull the starter, and just let me know when it stops, like around here or so. That's not bad. What we can do to make it easier to work on is just go ahead and rock the unit back. All right, guys, I moved this outside so I keep all the dust outside, not in my garage. And I think the tool for this job is going to be a 3-inch roll lock to get in and clean as much of that as I can. I'll use one hand to kind of push it back a bit. And I just want to get it down to bare metal where I'm going to be welding. You always want to weld into bare metal if you can help it. It'll fuse much better. There may be some spots farther in where I can't get the grinder, so I'll just use a coarse file and see if I can get in here and, file the parts that are too far for the grinder. And again, I'm not really looking to remove this old weld. I kind of want to keep that there because that's going to help me to lock this piece in place where I want it when I clamp the two together to weld. While I'm welding this, I'm going to be wearing a pair of safety glasses. These are magnifying safety glasses. I'm going to be wearing some earplugs to keep the noise down from the grinder, a full face shield, and also a respirator to keep dust out of my lungs. And why? Because why wouldn't you? All right, guys, well, I'm happy to say that it didn't put up as much of a fight as I thought it would as far as getting it back together. What I did is I just took a like a C-clamp and clamped it together, but the metal really wanted to stop down here a little bit. So what I did is I got my drift punch, put it through this hole, and used that to pry it back. And once I pried it back, then I could get one of these clamps on it and just adjust the clamps a few times, squeeze it with the C-clamp to get things in place. And then once I did all that, I took out a coarse roll lock and cleaned up all the paint. So that's looking about as good as it can look in my book before welding. So I'm just going to go get an alcohol swab, run it across there, and then I will probably end up running a few practice beads before I go after this guy. All right, guys, I got this little doodad here that measures the thickness of the metal, and if I put this on, it looks like we're getting, we're probably getting the pliers, but it looks like we're getting about 1/8 of an inch thickness. It's a little bit less plus the paint, but for all intents and purposes, we're going to call that 1/8 of an inch. Today I'm going to be using this Weldpak 100, which is a flux cord welder, and it runs on regular house voltage. The wire I've got in here is flux cord gasless wired, and the diameter is 0.035 inches. So if we go to our little chart on the welder, if we're using gasless flux cord, we can see that, you know, we would be between 12 gauge and 10 gauge, but basically we would be using D2 for our setting. What I'm hoping to do is, you see how I've got myself positioned over here, and I'll actually be using my right hand when I weld. I want to just start right over here and just basically just run one straight bead, or maybe do some small circles touching the two pieces of metal together. And if I get it right, it really should fuse quite nicely. I haven't welded in at least a year or two, so I'm gonna go ahead and get some scrap metal out and just run a few beads just to get myself used to the flashing lights and, you know, how the wire comes out. Well, there's my practice beads, and I ran a couple over here first, but this is like 3/16 plate. It's actually too thick, and I was having trouble kind of getting things heated up. So what I did is I fired a few shots at the corner of the plate just to see if I could get the control I wanted, and then I just ran straight beads, and once I felt confident I could control where the weld was going to be and see the puddle, I moved over to the snowblower. And there's the end result, guys, and I gotta say, I really don't see how I could have done any better on that one. Even if I had, you know, a MIG welder with gas. Attack on the right, attack on the left, and then I started on the left-hand side and worked my way right, and just kind of watched the puddle kind of melt the two pieces together. And over here, I did have a little bit of undercut or blowout, I don't know what the right term would be. So I went back and I just did like a spot weld a few times to try to fill that in a bit. Any more than that, and I think I would just do more damage than good. Here is the completed repair. I threw a few coats of a primer on there. I am very happy with the way those welds came out, that weld came out. Flux cord MIG, no gas at all, and I really have no BBs. I'll take it. Well, that's going to wrap this one up, folks. And I just want to say that things don't usually go that well for me. I don't know, I just feel like for some reason that weld made me look like I almost knew what I was doing. Who knew? A few tips I want to give is, number one, I was welding on a snowblower with a gas tank with highly combustible fumes. So please do some research on welding. Don't weld anywhere near a gas tank. I did have a watering can full of water nearby. And this was the first time I used, this is a Lincoln 3350 welding helmet. And I did put a cheater lens on the inside. Oh my God, this helmet is amazing. And the reason I know it's amazing is because not once during the entire operation did I think about the helmet. I just thought about running my weld. Consider one. The first thing I'm going to do, probably not tonight, but tomorrow, is get a soft cloth and clean this thing up. I'm going to put it back in the little bag that it came in when I bought it and store it somewhere where it's not going to get all dirty. And just for comparison's sake, this is my new helmet, and this is what I bought in the late 90s, early 00s. Huge difference as far as, you know, how they work. So if you're thinking about upgrading, do it. That's going to do it, folks. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, maybe got some ideas. You know, there's nothing wrong with a flux cord welder. Again, that was mid to late 90s purchase. When I was starting out, I did several projects with it. You know, 20 years later, she's still doing the job. If you can do me a favor, folks, go down there and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed. I'll do anything from repairs around the shop. My day job is a landscape contractor. I'll do some videos about that. But basically anything that interests me. So if stuff like this interests you, feel free to subscribe. And thanks for watching again, folks. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.